Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Jay Talks, today's relationships talk show. All right, You got in the house. You got me, Jay, your host, and you had again. She's here with us, Miss Debbie. All right, how you doing?
How is everyone? I'm doing well, Jay.
All right.
How are you today?
I'm doing great, All right, and I guess the topic of the day is going to be, are we really loving ourselves? All right. Are we really loving ourselves? All right. Glad to have you. Like I said, once again, Miss Debbie. All right. Um, are we really loving ourselves? Boy, we've had some great topics here lately. A lot of them dealing with spirituality, dealing with church. I guess we're more dealing with the spirituality part of relationships. We've dealt with so many topics since we first started this show about relationships. And I guess I want to start it out by pointing out that what many people fail to realize is that every connection you have with another person is a relationship. Any kind of contact with another human being is a relationship. Actually, with any living thing, because you can have a relationship with a dog or a cat or an animal.
That's right.
I mean, you can have a relationship with them. I mean,
Absolutely.
it might not be one of those, it won't be a lustful, it won't be pray it won't be a lustful. Pray, Lord, it won't be.
Yes.
Because I said I pray because the truth be told. And this show is not a religious show. Even though we talk a lot of religion and spirituality, we're not a quote based religious show. We might be founded on on many things that that's biblical, but we're not a religious show. We are a rational, realistic show. We bring things to the table that is real talk.
Real talk.
All right. So, in this real talk, as bad as it may seem and sound to many people who might be in denial of this, it does exist, because the Bible does say in the last days there will be unnatural effects, human affections. So it does exist.
Yes, it does.
That some people do have some lustful affections for animals, for the beast, as sickening as that may be. But that's why I say I pray that it's not.
Me too, Jay. I pray too.
All right. So there are many things that exist in life that we tend to, and I guess that probably is a good direction to go in, that exist in life that we tend to say to ourselves that no, it can't be like this, or this person can't be like. I'm not talking about with the animal thing. I'm talking about in life general, that this person can't be like this. And many times we are in denial of our own selves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but contact, and sometimes we don't even have a relationship with our own self.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As the topic says, are we loving ourselves?
Are we loving ourselves?
Yeah, boy. Can you have a relationship with yourself?
You better have a relationship with yourself. Amen. That's a good topic that we're going to be discussing today, Jay. Are we loving ourselves? I think what we have to do is find out what the real definition of love is.
Real definition?
The real definition of what love is.
Boy, I'll tell you what. before we get into that, if anybody's watching this show, I'm going to tell you our call-in number is 931-220-7063. We'd like for you to jump in and broadcast your voice on this subject. We'd like to hear your answers or your input, or on how or are we loving ourselves. But as you said, what is love? Boy, I tell you, when you ask 50 people, and I say this kind of often, you ask 50 people to give a definition or description of love, and I don't say you get 50 different answers. I tend to say you might get about 35 different answers, because 15 of them are going. 15 of the other 15 is going to have the same answers as within other folk in the 35. Okay. So, but you will get over half of them, I believe, in my studies, to have different answers. And so if you have so many different descriptions, then which one would you actually have to go on to say is the foundation or the right one? And so, when you have that many different definitions, what that tends to say is that society is confused.
Absolutely.
Absolutely confused. And so if they're confused, then the definition of love, when we say, "Are you loving yourselves?" then maybe you're confused about loving yourself. So maybe, like you said, we need to dig that down, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Well.
So tell us what love is, Shay.
All right. Now, I want to put this out again, and I encourage y'all to go back through our archives and pull up the Bad Boy Reality. I think you all will really enjoy that particular show on Jay Talks Today's Relationships.com. All right. A non-failing, non-moving, non-transcribed, okay, that cannot be revoked or disputed. Okay. Many people try to, but they can't. They really can't. Layout of what love is. Okay. What it says, and if you haven't guessed by now, I'm going biblical. All right. 1 Corinthians says this in 13th chapter, in the 8th verse. It says, "Love never fails." Okay. That's good, but we're gonna kind of put this one to the side for a minute, because when you're using a definition, you shouldn't use the same word in the same in the definition. Okay. So we're gonna put that. We're gonna come back to that.
Okay.
But what it also says, it says that it is patient.
Patient.
All right. It says love is patient.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's start. We'll start with each one.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Patient. Okay. Now, when there may be something that you have to get done. All right. And here's a really good one. I'm gonna use a testimony of my own. Okay. I was really needing to get I had gotten a new phone, and I was rushing, I really wanted my phone to get to working. Okay. And the company that was going to turn on my phone said it would be 3 days.
Okay.
All right. But I was really wanting to, and it was already paid for and everything. I just had to wait on the company.
Okay.
All right. And to do the transferring of my number and all that.
Yes.
So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
they said it would take I'm sorry, not 3 days, 2 days. They said it would take anywhere from 2 to 48 hours for the number to transfer. So in that meantime, when they put in the transfer, they cut my service off.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and I already paid for the service. So I was in such a rush. I at that time I was in the midst of being at that time I was in the midst of being short on cash.
Right. Yeah.
All right. I had paid out a whole lot of bills and everything. I still had a few more bills to go, and I was in a real tight budget situation. I had already took out the money that I was gonna pay on my phone. All right. So, because of my impatience and not being patient and just waiting, I wanted my phone on so bad that I went and dipped into and took away from some of the money that was due for another bill.
Okay.
Okay. And because I knew if I did anything else with that phone, I was gonna mess up transferring the number that I wanted to keep and was assigned to that phone.
Right.
So I went and bought a temporary phone. Okay. I done went and paid almost about as much as the service to buy a temporary phone that I knew could be activated with a different number just so I could have phone service, and saying, well, I'll make it up later, and things just didn't work out where I could get the money. All right. And it put me having to pay that bill late, and it costed me late charges and all that, paying the bill that I took away from because I was too impatient to wait up to 48 hours. All right, for the other number. So, so what did I do? I wound up hurting myself. All right. All right. And when you are putting myself in an extra bind, okay, now I got extra charges put on the bill and all that. That's hurting you.
Yes,
okay?
Absolutely.
That's hurting. So, so when it says love is patient, when you're talking about loving yourself, anytime somebody is hurting another, that is not really the showing of love. So if you're hurting yourself in something and putting yourself in a bind and putting yourself in bad situations, are you really loving yourself? Impatience, all right? Because you're just too impatient to wait.
Yes. I mean that's which is a good point, Jay. And we're talking about, do we really love ourselves? And I know you got the word there, and you're gonna tell us what other characteristics love is. Well, one of the things that I think about, when we're talking about relationships, about patience, is it something that all of us has to learn, especially if you're talking about wanting a quality relationship.
All right.
One of the things we don't want to do is wait.
Right.
We don't want to wait. We want it to come right, her to come right here, right now, and don't want to have to go through the things that you're going to have to go through in a relationship in order for it to be a quality relationship. So what do we do?
Rush into it.
Rush into it.
And ain't check nothing. ain't check nobody.
Yes. So patience is definitely a quality we want to have. And if we don't have it, a lot of times all you got to do is just, you know what it is, work on it. I'm not a patient person. I need help, in that area. I can honestly say that. I used to be, I was one of those that wanted it right then, right there. If I decided that I wanted it. And I had to understand that anything worth having is worth having the patience to wait for it. Whatever it is, not just a relationship, but whatever it is.
Right. I agree. Yeah, and another thing, I just to piggyback on what you're saying, like you said, we don't wait. And like I was just saying about harming yourself or putting yourself in harm's way or in a bad situation. And if you remember, everybody has the right to choose the person that they get with. That is your right.
Yeah.
And that is your responsible choice. Okay? All right,
Mhm.
and I have yet
Mhm.
to hear a person say that somebody put a gun up to their head.
Absolutely.
All right, all
Absolutely.
right, and told them that they gonna be in the
Uh huh.
relationship with
Uh
them.
huh. Uh huh. That's
Okay,
right.
all right,
That's right.
and that that it came into a relationship. But see, those that say that the gun was put up to their head, that was called kidnapping. All right,
Absolutely.
assault,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not a relationship. They didn't say they put a gun up to my head so I could be in a relationship with them. You never hear that.
Right. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
All right, so it is your choice.
It's
So
your choice.
you choose.
Mhm.
Because out of you not being patient, you ain't checked the
Mhm.
person out. You ain't see what real kind of character they got. You just briefly looked at it, just something brief you see about them, and oh, that's the one. You don't pray to the Lord, and the Lord done told you that's the one. But y'all miss it. God put it in your hands the power to choose,
Uh-huh.
and we miss that. And then when you hook up with them, then you want to say, God, why you send me this person?
Oh. Oh. Absolutely, Jay. You know, is that we power to choose.
Mhm.
And since you said that,
Mhm.
when you're talking about choosing a quality mate,
Mhm.
a quality mate, that's why patience is definitely warranted. It's
Mhm.
definitely warranted.
Mhm.
So that you won't have to end up going through some of them issues that you gonna go through if you had just
Mhm.
waited in the first place.
Mhm.
And I can say that through personal experience, and because I didn't, I had to deal with some things that came with that.
Mhm.
And but the good thing about it is that I learned.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, I learned it. I learned it was a hard lesson, but I learned it. So what I'm saying is that sometimes we don't have to learn those lessons the hard way.
No, we don't.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Now it says love is kind.
Love is kind.
Ooh,
Mm.
love is kind. Now, many times we can find ourselves being kind to someone else
Mhm.
before we kind to our own self.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
we could be kind to somebody else, but we won't be kind to ourselves.
Mhm.
And somebody be like, well, how can you be kind to yourself? Kindness is when you're giving to somebody else. No, kindness is also to yourself. You know what? We say this scripture, and we never pay attention. I won't say never. We seldom pay attention to its statement
Okay.
and how it's said. Love thy neighbor
Mhm.
as thyself.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Right.
All right?
Right.
Love everyone else the same way you
No.
love yourself.
Mhm.
Okay?
Mhm.
All right? So you're saying you're being kind to somebody, then if that scripture has its purpose, which it does, that means being kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
If kindness is part of love,
Mhm.
then kindness to yourself is part of love to yourself.
Mhm.
All right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I'm sure somebody's probably saying, well, how can you
How
be
can-
kind to yourself?
Mhm.
How can you be kind? Okay, what are the kind things you normally do that you would do for somebody
Absolutely.
else?
Mhm.
You see to the sick. Okay,
Right.
all right. You know, uh, you might go over there and feed them.
Mhm.
Okay, now watch this. You see to the sick and trying to help them get well. But when we get sick, do we do the right measures to
Right.
help
The same
ourselves get
measures.
well? Do we
Uh-huh.
take the medicine? Do
Mhm.
we do the right things that we need to do
Mhm.
to help ourselves get?
Mhm.
We're so
Mhm.
worried about trying to help somebody else get well. But do
Absolutely.
we do the things that we need to do to ourselves
Absolutely.
to get well? You
Uh-huh.
know, uh, and just like the lady was preaching this morning.
Yeah.
And so in the same way about going and feeding the needy and all that. Well, do we eat the right foods?
Mm. Mhm.
I mean, when you're feeding yourself. I mean, you concerned. Yes, the same kindness you give to someone else, there is a kindness you could give to yourself, and sometimes we're not kind to ourselves.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. One of the things that I think about, for women, when you talk about being kind to yourself, that's a broad statement and it can go a lot of ways. But one of the things that I'm thinking about is, pampering ourselves.
Mm.
And you made a good point as how we do this for others and we do that for others and stuff like that. But when it comes to pampering yourself, if you ask the average woman, what do you do to pamper yourself? And might say, well, pamper myself. What, I don't, most of the time I don't do it, But when I'm saying pamper yourself, just like, you can go to the spa, go get your nails done, go get your hair done, that type of thing, on a regular basis, if you're able to, knowing what you're going to accept out of a relationship and not accept, because now we're talking about being kind. So if you know what you want out of a relationship and what you expect, you're not going to accept anything less than that. Being kind. What else, can you do? Like you said, go take a neighbor, to a doctor's appointment or something like that. I mean, that's a broad spectrum, and you can take that and go either way for yourself as, being kind to yourself, loving yourself. I know you're going to tell us what else, what real love is, and that's one of the things that before we can actually get into a relationship that's going to be fruitful, you have definitely got to know what love is. I know, we understand, and you told us in the beginning that it's not just a man-woman relationship, it's a relationship in general. But when you're talking about especially being in a man-woman relationship, you got to know what love is.
Yeah, you got to know what love is. And we will hope that it's a man-woman relationship, but back to the real talk. Like I said, we are so deep in real talk. This.
Yeah.
Even though we're not saying that we promote, the homosexuality idea, but the truth is, because it exists, we let us speak to that, okay? Because the truth is, even in the homosexual society or idea, it still lies the same. It's still the principles still lie the same.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And as far as what we were saying, choosing somebody, I mean, it still lies the same because the folk, they have the same exact dramas and issues and fallouts.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Cheating and quote unquote caring aspects as heterosexual people. Okay, and that's just real talk. That's not real talk. Not saying we promote that. I'm saying this is just the way it is. Okay?
Absolutely.
And so we did love is patient, love is kind. Oh, then it said, and love is not jealous. Okay. All right.
Love is not jealous.
Oh, not jealous.
Okay, let's talk about jealousy.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
All right, now somebody was saying, well, how can I be jealous of myself? It's not, you got to understand, it's not really being jealous of yourself. All right, it's really when you're jealous of others, because what happens, what you do to yourself out of the acts of jealousy could harm you.
Absolutely.
Could cause you to do things that or harm you. Anytime you do something that's harmful to you or put you in a bad situation, you're not really loving yourself.
Absolutely.
So because of jealousy and it operating in your life, it could cause you to move toward action or something that's going to put you in harm's way.
Absolutely.
That's going to put you in some type of jeopardy.
Yes.
Because of jealousy, people have killed folk, murdered folk, have assaulted folk, have threatened folk, and all kinds of stuff. So what happens out of that? I mean, you would go to jail. All right. I mean, you would have your life, moments of your life taken away, moments of your freedom taken
Absolutely.
away because
Absolutely.
you were jealous. Okay?
Yes.
All right?
Absolutely. Jealousy, and out of everything you just said, Jay, jealousy is an insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
It's an insecurity. When you find a person that's jealous, you know, when you're talking about a relationship, if I get up and I go to the bathroom, you want to know where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Where you going?
Mm-hmm.
You said you was going to call back in 5 minutes. It's 7 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what was you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you said you was going to your friend's house. I called over there. I rolled by there. Your car went there. Where was you at?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that type of thing. You know, and so all of that can manifest itself into that very thing that you was just talking about. If you're not careful, you know, because jealousy is an insecurity. A person that feel that they have to, you know, just be right there, or have to have you there with them at every moment, that's an insecurity.
Yeah. 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 It really is. And folk, we really need to weigh and consider the things that you do, because you should really ask yourself. It will help you if you would really be loving yourself to ask yourself, what is it about the person that I'm, quote, getting jealous about? Okay? What is it, quote, that I'm getting jealous about? Okay? All right, now, that's when I said this earlier, you know, to advise to go look at our show, The Bad Boy Reality. One of the things that was said on that show, and I'll do a revised statement on that. It was asked, one of our former cast members, Sister Soldier. Okay, Sister Soldier, it was asking that, well, if I had, they were approaching me with that. I don't know why they won't put me on the spot.
Okay.
But anyway, ask if I had a wife or a girlfriend, a woman, and I saw a man coming on to her, would I run up and intervene in the conversation? You know, or what would I do? My answer is this. This is because I've come to the understanding about jealousy. Now I want to say was this. A long time ago, when I was in the 9th grade, I've been, and I'm going to give you this 9th grade version, and I'm going to give you this present version. In the 9th grade, there was this girl, okay, and that's what she was, girl, and I was a boy, not a man and a woman, right. Girl and a boy, and she was proclaimed, as I understood, to be my girlfriend, okay, as I thought it was, and I thought all we talked about was she was my girlfriend. Okay. All right. So here it comes. One day in the middle of classes, I come around the corner, and the girl who's supposed to be my girlfriend, what I thought, is coming down the steps, all hugged up on this boy. Okay, on another boy. I get jealous and mad, and what do we do, folks? When we're out of jealousy, we tend to go up to the other person. Yes. All right? The other person, not the one who's our spouse or our girlfriend or boyfriend, you know, our date, whatever. We tend to approach the other person and, like, you know, you messing with my property. All right, that kind of idea. You know, so we go up to the other person. And and that's who we take it out on. Just what I did. I ran up on the other boy, and so we decided to fight after school. You know, that was very common back then. Right. You know, because we knew if we got to fighting right then, you know, we both get spells. Yes. Yes. So it was an after school setup. So after school, it was on, and everybody knew it was gonna be on. You know how they formed.
Yes.
You know, that was back in the day.
Back
you
in
know,
the day, yeah.
Kids don't know nothing about
They
that.
don't know nothing about that now.
No, kids want to go get a gun and
Yeah,
all that and do
Yeah.
drive-bys.
Right.
You know, they don't even settle after school.
No,
They
right then and there.
Mm-hmm. So you know, so it was on. We got to fighting. Now, granted, she was hugged up on him. All right. He didn't have no knife to her throat. That was a choice. But I want to fight him. Okay. We get to fighting. The dude pulled out a knife because I was whooping his tail. All right. I was whooping his tail. And so he figured, you know, when somebody getting beat, they go for the whatever they can extra. They give him a little leverage, and he pulled out a knife, a little pocket knife. I wound up getting the pocket knife from him, and we came to a halt. You know, and when you're in adrenaline and you're going and you'll do some things. I'm just thankful to this day. When we came to a halt, I had the knife indentured on his throat.
Oh.
All I had to do was rip.
Yeah.
The boy would have been dead. Okay.
Yeah.
And we came to a halt. And to the day, he was still my best friend. Forever will be my best friend. He was right behind me, in the back of me, whispering in my you know, Jay, don't do it, man, don't do it, don't. And I'm gonna tell you what was a matter of just a minute, seemed like it was hours, because the thought that came to me while I had the knife up against his throat was that I killed him, because all I knew was about court cases, what I saw on TV. I'm a kid in ninth grade, you know. People get the electric chair because they killed somebody. So I'm like, okay, I kill him. I go to jail. I'm gonna get sentenced to death. And here's this girl that I'm out here fighting over and jealous about, and still running around with her life, messing with whoever she want to mess with. Right? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it scared the heck out of me. I won't say it scared the hell out of me. All right.
Yes.
To finally come to this realization, I'm gonna lose my whole life, my whole freedom, because I got jealous.
Yes.
And took it out on this person rather than officially deal with her. Because if I had officially dealt with her, I would have told her to go somewhere. All right. And been looking at all the other little fine women, girls in the school. All right. So, but now when they asked me that question on the show, I gave them the early version. I gave them the point where I am now in understanding about jealousy and loving yourself. I was like, no, I wouldn't run up there. They were like, why wouldn't you? Why would you run up there? I mean, that's your woman and all that. You gonna let somebody take your woman? I said, no. I said, because I learned something. Nobody can take nobody.
Absolutely.
Unless, I said, now, if they were trying to kidnap her, I said, yes, I'll be right up on there trying to protect her.
Absolutely.
I said, but nobody can take somebody away from her. I said, another person freely chooses to go with another person. I said, no. I said, I'm going to sit back and watch. And I'm going to sit. I said, I'm going to see where she rolls with it. I said, now, if she tells dude, no, I got a man, leave me alone. Dude keep resisting, then I'll go up there. I'll be like, didn't you hear my woman?
Yeah.
Because now she needs some reinforcement.
Right.
But, you know, but if she up there talking game with him, I mean, that tells me right now. See, a lot of times we see signs, and we don't want to tell ourselves the truth.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
That's right, Jay. You know, and that's and to go back to what jealousy is again, it's an insecurity. So now, in saying this, if you are confident in your relationship, confident in your mate, it ain't no need for you to put on an act out in public because she talking to a man or because he talking to another woman. There's no need for that. If you confident, if you know who you are, if you confident in your mate, you know. And so that's the thing where and you know, let me just say this. You probably gonna get a few calls, Jay, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's usually the women that does that type of thing. And I have not seen a man yet, too many to just actually display stuff like that. And then when it's the woman, and like the point you made about not checking your man, you go and you check the woman. But you don't say nothing to your man, your husband, or, whoever he is to you. You go and you check the woman. You go over to her house and tear her stuff up, and because your man laying up in there, and he still ain't came home to you. So what is that telling you? I mean, like you say, the signs are always there.
Yeah.
The signs are always there.
Yeah.
So that's the insecurity, with us to keep accepting being in a relationship that is less than what you want, all for the sake of saying what? You love him? Okay, but what is love? What is love?
Yeah, what is love? Love is always a positive thing. Remember that.
Absolutely.
Positive thing.
Positive.
A positive showing. So, what is love? I mean, and sometimes people think that and I may have some church folk that might call in on this one, it may be in debate, but sometimes a breakup is a positive thing.
Absolutely.
All right, because if you could look down the road and really be honest with yourself about some situations and some of these relationships, if they really look down the road and say to themselves, well, if the way this person is right now, yeah, there is always hope that a person can change.
Absolutely.
But it's not a promise. You got to remember,
right.
hope
Absolutely.
is not a promise, and that's what we fail to see. We want to say, well, I know a person can change, and I hope and pray for that change, but that's not a promise, because God don't make nobody do nothing.
Absolutely.
God don't make a person change, because He gave them free will. Remember that. Free will. If He makes a person change, that means that person free will was taken away. And God does not mock, and He is not a lie. In His states, we have free will. All right. So, folks, when you lie to yourself about a whole bunch of stuff, you ain't loving yourself. The truth is, we have free will. God don't make nobody.
That's right.
So because He doesn't make it, now He will do everything possible to try to put a stumbling block to wake you up, to get you to realize that you need to follow His ways or His way of thinking and all that. But the thing of it is, since there's no promise, all you have is today. Okay, today. You don't know what the future is going to hold.
Absolutely.
All you have is today, and the patterns that you have seen. All right. So by the patterns you've seen and the thing that you know as of today, all right, the present, then you base that. And if there doesn't seem like there's been a pattern of changing, okay, some people ain't gonna change overnight. But you should see some pattern of some changing along the way.
Absolutely.
Now, if there's no pattern of change or changing along the way, and they're the same in pattern, then, and you got big problems and issues, then what's most likely your future is going to be is that it might get worse. Now, it may not. But it might too. It's a 50-50 margin. So, based upon where you are at that moment, that present, today, then being honest with yourself, okay, when I say some breakups may be good, because sometimes people don't even begin to change or wake up to a change until the person, like I said, the garden is gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you know that, hey, if I stay with this Negro too much longer, I'm gonna wind up hurting him. It's gonna go down. I ain't doing this much longer. All right. I mean, y'all know, that's real talk. Y'all know we be trying to say that stuff.
That's real talk.
All right.
Now that's real talk, and I can speak, through personal experience,
Mm.
personal experience. That same thing that you just discussed, and for me, it's sad to say, but nonetheless, I'm thankful that I learned that lesson after 24 years.
Mm.
24 years, I learned that lesson. And one of the reasons I made the decision that I did was because of that very same principle that you just shared. There was no sign of change.
Mm.
There was no sign of change.
Mm.
And so I had to make the decision to say, okay, he, had every opportunity,
Mm.
but there was no sign. I didn't see any sign that he was willing,
Mm.
to change. And so because of that, you have to make a decision, ladies. You have to make a decision. And I said ladies because a lot of times it's us that stay in those relationships longer than we need to.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, you're right. Because a lot of men are more predominant in making the decision to move out of if they see that that it's more the woman, if it's that case, more the woman being a big problem in the relationship, uh, to move on quicker than women.
Mm-hmm.
And However, many, but still with majority of them, we sometimes stay in a bad place longer
Mm-hmm.
than
Absolutely.
because of the it's really called false hope.
Mm-hmm.
And and again, I almost got a feeling that some religious folk might call in here, church folk, that might say, "How can you call hope false?" Well, anything that has a misleading understanding is false. The Bible says that. It says it is either hot or cold. It is either true or false.
Okay.
So if you're saying that because you hope that it will come to pass, and you hear I say that it will come to pass because you have hope, that hope is promised to come to pass. Bible don't teach that. All right. The Bible does not teach that just because you have hope that it will come to pass. No, it depends. It says it's dependent. Now, if you have hope in yourself, now that's a total difference. There's hope in yourself because you're the only person you can change.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. You hope in yourself for change. And the more, because you're thinking that, because you're meditating on that hope, yes, it will come to pass. But your hope in somebody else is going to be dependent on where they are.
Absolutely.
And their choices, their meditations, their acceptance, and all that. Just because you got that's your right to move into that. Okay, so that's not promise. The only thing that's promised is within yourself.
Within yourself.
All right?
Yeah.
And where you place yourself. That's the only thing that's promised.
And that is so true. And I think, for women, if we really understood that principle, we would be a whole lot better off in the choices that we make, or the choice that we make to choose a mate, and realizing that we would make because men just don't deal with that type of thing good. That's one thing I can say about men. For a good example, cheating. If a man finds out that his woman, his wife is cheating, he out of there most of the time. But a woman, if she finds out that her man is cheating, all he got to do is say, "Baby, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. It just happened, or whatever." And you say, "Okay." And then he like, "Well, it's that easy." Then that's all I say, "Baby, please, baby, please, baby, please." And she and then it becomes a pattern. Then it becomes a pattern. All because of the fact that we talk about it again. I love him. What is love? What is real love? What is true love?
Yeah. What is love? And remember, love is always positive. And like I said, I think some people probably find that last comment about breaking up could be positive, but it can be. It really seriously can be
Absolutely.
positive
Absolutely.
because it will get you out of that dreadful dreadful dead atmosphere,
Absolutely.
so that you can move forward
Yes.
into
Yes.
positivity.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
you can move forward into maturing. So you can move forward into prosperity. So you
Mhm.
move forward to complete your goals. Because I know many folk, when they're in a dreadful relationship, sad and depressing
Mhm.
relationship,
Mhm.
goals that they have tend to be put to the back burner.
Mhm.
They go backwards rather than forward.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
they begin to harm themselves as far as their weight, their
Yes.
as far as their health.
Mhm.
And like I said, things begin to go backwards than forward.
Mm.
So sometimes when you break away
Mm.
from something that is hurting you, and
Mhm.
remember, um, uh, and when I said that's hurting you, but also remember this: when you stay in that situation, that is your choice.
Mhm.
And if you're staying in a situation that is hurting you, that means you are choosing. This is harsh. That you are choosing
Absolutely.
to hurt yourself.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
you are choosing to hurt yourself
Mm.
because you
Mm.
have the choice.
Mm.
God gave you the power to be able to choose to move into peace and tranquility
Mm.
and happiness and security of happiness. That's your choice. That may sound harsh,
Mm.
but it is the reality.
Okay, so Jay, you say a person has a choice as to whether they stay in a relationship that's not productive for them or anything like that. Well, what about the cases of women are in relationships where the man has threatened them. If you ever leave me, I'll kill you.
Okay. Here's where folk, and this only will apply to people who call themselves quote spiritual,
Hmm.
who call themselves spiritual.
Okay.
Even though we know that in Timothy it says in the last day they'll have some that have a form of godliness.
Hmm.
They might call themselves spiritual, but
Hmm.
they say it said but have no God in them. In other
Hmm.
words, they're not really spiritual. They might be in the church, but they have no church in them. All right, that's what Timothy said. All right, that's what Timothy said. All right, in the Bible. Um, that's what that Jay said. But anyway, but those who actually are calling themselves spiritual, because the unspiritual folk, this really doesn't apply. Okay. Uh, okay. This scripture that says God has not given you spiritual folk the spirit of fear.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, if you calling yourself spiritual, okay, remember you don't have the spiritual of fear. That God is bringing you out of being overcome or being burdened with fear, and because they will hurt them, kill them, or whatever. Um, that's going to fall upon you really believing in God, okay? Really believing in God and taking the step that you know you need to do. All right, you know you need to do and get away. Now, it didn't say that it would be easy. All right, spiritual folk, okay, because the unspiritual folk, this does not apply. Okay, spiritual folk, it didn't say that it wouldn't be easy. Okay, but it said that it would be promising. Okay. It didn't say that it wouldn't be a headache, that guy you left wouldn't try to chase you down. But see, if you leave, you go to the police. If he beating on you, threatening you, you do the right stuff you know you need to do. You go to police. You get your restraining orders. You go get in the company of people that you know that you could depend on to help protect you and stand up for you and all that.
Yes.
Who really love you? You get with those folks, not just any old Joe or any old
Absolutely.
girlfriend. You know, you got to plan your escape.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
You do. You got to plan your escape, and um, this is for the spiritual folk. I said. All right. Now maybe somebody who's not spiritual might be converted by hearing this. All right.
Absolutely.
But uh, but you got to remember, if you really believe, you don't have a spirit of fear.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you really believe, that's a big if.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a big if. Okay.
Okay. So now
Mm,
that's for. Okay. I'll just say that question
mm,
is for the married.
mm,
Okay. Because a lot of times we like to think that
mm,
a person or people that are spiritual,
mm,
saved,
mm.
sanctified,
Right.
filled with the Holy Ghost,
Uh huh.
don't trip like that.
Right. Oh yeah.
Okay, we like to think
Yeah,
that don't happen.
that don't happen to the
Okay,
church folk,
okay, right,
Yeah,
right.
because they got Jesus. Yeah, I know. Okay.
Right. We like to think that don't happen,
Yeah.
with them,
Uh,
you know.
uh,
But for those that are not married,
uh-huh.
does that same principle apply for them?
It still applies to them. The same principle still applies to them. Because here's what's going to happen. All right, for them to be threatened,
Mhm.
most likely they're living together.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
because if they were living in separate places,
Right.
all they got to
Yes.
do is just bar them from coming to their house. Okay, all right. If they need to hire a rent a cop to stand at the front door, that's what they need to do. But so most likely they're gonna be living together as if quote unquote they husband and wife. Okay, so yeah, I say that I would tend to say yeah that applies to those folks too, the unmarried who are as Lady K would say cohabitating.
Yes. Yes. Let's just call it what it is, Jay.
What?
Shacking.
Shacking.
Yeah, shacking. Shacking.
Yeah.
And one of the perfect examples of what you was just talking about is the movie Enough.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember that movie, it was Jennifer Lopez, played the female role and everything, and all of the issues she was going through. Now this goes back to the same thing that we were talking about in the beginning of the show. Not waiting to see those true characteristics in the person that you're choosing as a mate. And a lot of times, ladies, we look at the outward appearance. Okay, we see, oh, he brought me flowers. Oh, he bought me candy. Oh, he bought me this. Oh, he's so nice. And then once you get with him, he totally changed up. But guess what? He didn't change. You just didn't wait long enough to see those qualities come out that you should have seen. Jennifer Lopez did the same thing in this movie. And then when she married this man, he was working for the devil. The head henchman for the devil. And was beating on her and just doing all kind of outlandish stuff. And she basically did the same thing. Had got to the point to where she got tired and fed up and decided to do something about it. Now she planned it. Now you say you got to have a plan. She got everything together. Got this plan together on how she was gonna get away, and even down to the last part. If some of y'all haven't seen that movie, even down to the last part, she planned that. Where she had end up killing him. But she had all of her I's dotted and her T's crossed.
That's right. And getting away, like I said, it may not be easy because she did get away.
Yeah.
Got to loving folk that was loving,
But
ready there to defend for her, stand for her.
Yeah.
But the guy still traced her down. And as you said, she even had to plan because she knew he was gonna come after her. So she planned for that. And so but she still overcame that. She still overcame. And folk, that's all I'm just saying. Here's the thing. I like this statement. It takes pain to get rid of pain, and that applies physically and physically, emotionally, and mentally. Even though
Mhm.
emotional and
Okay.
emotional and mentally are
Mhm.
basically the same,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
but it takes pain to because pay attention to uh, um, pay attention to the when the physical part. Um, Here it is. When you go to you go to a doctor and say like you broke an arm or
Mhm.
something. All right. Once they take you out of that cast, they going you got to go to physical therapy.
Mhm.
They be
Mhm.
trying to moving it and it be hurting
Yes.
and all that. But if you don't do the physical
Absolutely.
therapy,
Yes.
what they tell you is that it's going to set in place. That's
Mhm.
how the terminology is.
Mhm.
It's going to
Mhm.
set in place, which they don't want it to be.
Mhm.
You need to flex it,
Yes.
get everything movable again.
Yes. Yes.
And if you don't do that, once it sets in place,
Mhm.
it'll be hard to get it in
Mhm.
its corrected
Mhm.
form
Mhm. Yes.
where you can
Yes.
function properly. Now,
Mhm.
you heard the
Uh-huh.
terminology I said that.
Mhm.
So the same thing is when you are emotional. Okay. It took that pain physically, going
Mhm.
through that physical therapy. It hurt. Yes, it hurt like
Yeah.
heck. And
Yeah.
we be like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't
Uh-huh.
want to. It hurts. It hurts.
Uh-huh.
But you need to do it.
Yeah.
It takes that pain to get rid of
Yes.
the
The
pain that you
pain.
make if
That's
you
a good point,
all right.
Jay. That's a good
Okay.
point.
All
Yeah.
right. Same thing about taking needles, but we don't want to take a needle. But we know if we don't take that needle shot, we need to take the needle shot to fix some of the pains
You
that
know
we got,
what, Jay? I can honestly say most women don't have a problem with needles. It's
There's a
men.
man, yeah.
Okay.
There's a man. But we need to take that shot
Yes.
to get that in us so we can get rid of some of the pains that we
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
So the same thing about emotion. You tied up with somebody and you're going through a bunch of pain, emotional
Mhm.
pain, maybe physical pains too,
Mhm. Mhm.
with this person. Okay, and you know how we sometimes do as folk. You know, I can't stand being with them, but I don't know how I can live without them.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I don't know how
Yeah.
I can live without them.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, and if I leave them, I know I'm gonna be all sad. I'm gonna be
Mm.
pain, in emotional pain,
Mm.
cause I'm gonna be lonely, and that's an emotional pain.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be depressed
Mhm.
and all that. Well, okay. Uh, here's a logical thing. Here's a very instant logical thing to really focus on. Okay, if you're going through pain, what you got to lose? All right, if you're going through pain in your present situation, just like the physical, what you got to lose going through the pain that can get you better
Healed. Yes.
and heal.
Yes. Yes.
What do you have to lose? You have more to gain to go through the other pain than to stay in the pain that you're in.
Mhm. Mhm. You know what that's called, Jay? Change. Okay. You know most of us don't. Change. Do something different. Can't see it. I can't do it. But we have to be careful because we give our words life. We give our words life, like you just said. I can't stand. I can't stand him. I can't stand her. But I can't see myself without him. You give your words life. Whatever you speak is what it's gonna be. And so for a lot of us, it's also conditioned.
Yeah.
Used to. That's familiar. We okay with the familiar. It can be rough as all get out, but we familiar with that, and we'll accept that because we don't want to go through the change. See, that change, you don't know what change is. You don't know what change is going to come on the other side of that thing.
Mhm.
So you would rather stay in a relationship where you're getting abused, whether it's mentally, physically, or whatever,
Mhm.
the hurt and pain of on the other side of that thing, and to go into something that's going to be better beneficial for you.
And you know, good some summary for that. When folk be like, I can do bad all by myself.
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
you could do bad all by. Yeah,
You
can
say that.
Yeah, right. You don't need nobody else to give you pain that you could give your own self. Okay,
Mhm.
we got that. All right.
Mhm.
But the question is, do you have that? You might be saying it, but do you really get that? You know.
Mhm.
All right.
You might be saying it, but do you really get it? I can
Yeah.
do bad by myself. We say that. That's why I say, we give a lot of things we say, Jay. I really just don't believe we really understand the full validity of it.
Mhm.
I can do bad by myself. Well, guess what? You are, and there's two of y'all there together.
Mhm.
Whatever that thing is, you got to go and find him every night.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You gotta go get in your car and drive around to see where he at. Cause he ain't came home or something like that. Come on, ladies, we gotta do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta do better.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this too. I'm gonna say this. You probably gonna get a couple of calls on this one, Jay, right here. But I'm gonna say this: the men are not going to do any better if we keep accepting what we accept.
Right. Well, yeah. That is 100% true. And this is gonna come up on another show, but you're absolutely right about that. History shows us why we are in the state of relations, the type of relationships that we are in. And folks, if y'all stay tuned in to us on the fourth Sunday, when we have that topic, can we really be honest? Oh, y'all need to tune into that.
Absolutely.
So
I'm looking forward to that.
But yeah, history has shown that it was already at a certain level, and men are not bashing, but this is history. When you look in the Bible, the multiple wives and all of that, that was a practice. But then the New Testament came in to narrow that down and put away the multiple wives to one wife, one husband, to put away that. However, but the mentality was still there because it was a practice. And what's called and what's here's the thing, it's called a habit. So anything that's a habit, okay, or what we call habitual, anything that's a habit, just like look at it in the same form, the same essence, in the same type of way. Okay, people who are a drug addict because it's a habit.
Yeah.
People who are alcoholic because they're a habit.
Yes.
People who are smokers because it's a habit.
Yes,
okay, to come off of that is if you ask anybody who is formed in their habit to reverse from that is hard to do.
Absolutely.
And not only is it hard to do, even when they do withdraw, it takes a strong will and a plan, and a practice to not be lured back into it, because so the same thing that for centuries, not just decades, this is centuries, that the male perspective has been used to the habit of multiple women. Okay, all right. Now, New Testament came to put it in reformation and to rehab. But just as many people have gone through rehab, gone through rehab, they still revert back into the habit. So that's what life has done. Even though the New Testament came and presented rehab to the one woman, one man thing, there have been many who have because the substance is still out there. See, so because the substance is still out there, they get a hold of it and they relapse back into the habit. Okay, that's what I was saying, because it was a habit.
Okay, I would agree with
I'm not giving justification,
of course,
because there's no justification for being a drug addict, no justification for being an alcoholic, and not getting no justification. I'm just stating, if you talk to anybody who's been in any one of these positions, they because of the habit, understanding what the habit is all about, that understanding. Justification, just understanding. I'm not saying that is right. I'm just saying to be, it's called empathy, okay? To have understanding, because here, remember we talked about closure last week, and a lot of people, which endures the question or involves the question as to why people do this, or why did this happen and all that. So if we don't understand, like you were saying, women, if you don't start putting a foot down and letting it keep going, okay? Because then the only way the gap can be narrowed or the habit can be quenched is that those responsible, all right, put their foot down.
Absolutely.
Put their foot down. Because the more that you allow it, because what's the use of going to Alcoholic Anonymous, okay, all right, to get cured out of your habit, if they're going to
continue,
if they serve you, they tell you don't do it, but at the end of class they got you a bottle of alcohol for coming to class. What's the use of going to it?
Right, that's a good point. What's the use?
What's the use?
I honestly don't know.
So, I guess as we get ready to come to the close of this thing, I mean, are we really loving ourselves? I'm going to say the rest of that scripture. Because we really have already covered it. It also says love does not brag, and it is not arrogant. We don't talk about arrogancy, like you were saying, Miss Debbie, about being all out there in the public and everything. It does not seek its own. It is not provoked. All right, that's what you were talking about, insecurity. And it does not enjoy over someone else's tragedy. Okay, all right, how we do sometimes.
Yes.
See, I know they should.
I knew it was gonna happen.
All right. So the same thing. Do we really love ourselves? Many times we find ourselves not loving ourselves, because anytime you make bad choices, unwise choices.
Jay, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Deliberate, and it is deliberate when you've even, especially if you done already thought about it and you still go ahead and do it. That's deliberate.
Yes, that's
all
true.
right. So sometimes we don't love ourselves, and or I should say many times we don't love ourselves. And until we can begin to love ourselves, that's the only time we can really begin to love others. Because the Bible says, love thy neighbors as you love thyself.
Absolutely.
All right. So, folk, we enjoyed y'all being here. Enjoyed you, Miss Debbie.
Enjoyed you, Jay. Right. Thank you for having me.
And we look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. We out of here.
Stay over. I asked that you was an indoor pool. Let's check it out. I found you in a girl's guinea pig. very impressive. It's tacky, but it makes my aunt happy.
That's an unusual necklace.
Thanks. Very special to me.